Tough wake-ups.
He defines masculinity. He redefined what it means to wear a tracksuit on television, and we can't wait to have him back on air. Hal, thank you so much for the time this morning.
It's Marsh and Mello.
Thanks very much, and until next time, keep fit and have fun.
Yes! Oh, yes! He nailed the dismount!
Oh, man, that is a classic right there from the library. It is the only one and only Marsh and Mello right here. We are very excited to welcome in right now Brandon Rowe, who is a York University Seneca College alum, VJ at City News. The kids, they love the video journalist, the VJ out there. You can find him on Twitter at Brandon Rowe TV. We know Brandon as being someone who, of course, had a connection to the Hamilton Tiger Cats. When we were just a couple of young pups, we all came in together. We're all hanging out at Hamilton Tiger Cats practices. Brandon's gone on to do much bigger and better things than us. He's important, and we're just sitting in our basements talking about sports all day long. But we're lucky to have him come on and be a contributor to us on anything U Sports, CFL, bounce around culture, everything else happening in the world of sports. Brandon, thanks for being on with us, man. It's great to have you here.
Honestly, I'm excited, and congrats to you guys for for hosting this platform. I know it's everyone wants those call letters with certain companies, but I think this is the future. So I'm excited to see where you guys go.
Yeah, nonlinear has been interesting for sure. It was funny today. I saw just before we started recording that the guys in Winnipeg, Hustler and a couple of the others, Mike Remus, they started up their own, Winnipeg Sports Talk Daily. And my initial thought, as I saw the tweet come across the timeline, was, hell yeah, good for them. I love seeing them kind of go independent as well. My second thought was, what the hell took you so long? We're finishing our third week around here because we were lucky, right? It took us 4 or 5 days to get this thing off the ground and running right away. But give people some background on your time in football, because anybody that sees the clip of this online, social, YouTube, otherwise, they see the York Lions jersey in the back there, which, by the way, those Adidas fit jerseys were always wild to me, how much the cut in the armpit was underneath. I know Laurier wore those for a while too in the OUA, but your time coming up through football, what was your journey?
Wow. So, and first off, the jerseys that we wore, they weren't flattering. So you had to make sure you didn't eat any past the night before, because it shows the beer bellies. But football wise, I bounced around in high school. I started off at St. Thomas More. So I was there for 2 years, but I played football 1 year, and not because I liked football. I grew up playing basketball. I just never grew, so I couldn't go far. But the reason what drew me to the football is everyone you could wear. So I went to Catholic school. You have to wear a uniform, and at St. Thomas More, you could wear the jersey on Fridays. So that was pretty much the only thing. I could care less about football. I didn't know anything about it. I just thought it was cool that these guys got to wear their jersey at lunch and all Friday on game day. So I played. I was terrible, and so my brother was also so that was my grade 10 year. It was my first year. My brother's in grade 9. He didn't like STM, so he transferred to Cathedral, which was great. So we had to sit out the first year, and then I played the second year. And it was an okay experience. The defensive coordinator was Joe Haggins, who was an amazing former Cat, played for Purdue. So that was great, but I still didn't really get that much playing time. So I didn't really start really getting a chance to actually play until I played Steel City Ironman, and that's kind of where coaches started taking a look at me. So from there, did a couple of Ron Diaz combines. I don't know if those exist anymore.
You did the Ron Diaz combines, man.
I did.
I did one when I was in high school because my dad was working as a sales associate at Henry's Camera and Video Company, and he had a high school teacher of mine come in and tip him off about it. And at that time, I was like a grade 11 kid, and he said, "You got to get Marshall to go out and try this thing." I wasn't training. I had like no clue what I was doing. I didn't know how to do tests. I didn't know how to cheat them. I didn't know what vertical jump versus broad jump, any of that stuff. I remember going and just being embarrassed by all of my numbers and then being like, wow, that's what people that are actually good at football do, huh? What was your Ron Diaz camp experience like?
You know what? It was pretty good. So I'm trying to remember. So when I was there, there was some studs. Tareen Allen is a name that comes to mind. Matt Henry is a guy that comes to mind. Just beasts, and they were just just destroying all the numbers. It was the one-on-ones that kind of helped me. So I'm trying to think. What was his name? Mike Mazursky.
Okay, yeah.
Wide receiver. He's actually a wrestler now. So I went up against him a couple times, and I did pretty well. And then just because I was undersized, and coaches were like, like you could have went against all these guys because that's what people are doing, right? And that's what you do when you go to these things. You pick and choose. You see, okay, that guy looks slow. Let me cover him. But I was going against one of the best guys, and they liked it. So that's what kind of helps me, and that's where I got a couple of scouts looking at me, and then from there I did 2 years at Guelph. I played under Kyle Walters, and that was a great experience. And then I left, went to York. Those were some tough years. We didn't win many games, but I did get a chance. I played with the Hamilton Hurricanes CJFL 1 year where we won the Teddy Morris Cup, which was awesome. I think that's my first football championship.
Nice.
And after that, just been flying around, tearing my hamstring and flag, and coaching a little bit.
What's interesting, Brandon, is and I've had conversations with people in football circles locally, and players in high school don't see the CFL as an avenue for them. They simply don't. They don't understand that until they get to U Sports level, and coaches tell them, hey, if you want, you can play professional football here in Canada, right? If you're not good enough to, go to the NFL, you can stay here in Canada and make a pretty good living as a football player. Was it the same for you and around York and talking to guys where maybe before they didn't think CFL was a chance, but once they got U Sports under their feet, they were like, okay, maybe I have a chance here.
So I was lucky, but what you're saying, Kyle, is true. I was lucky because in high school at Cathedral, my coach was Coach Hagan, so he always used to preach, about the CFL and train hard and get your schooling right. You might get the opportunity to play. But I know not a lot of high schools they talked about it and about the CFL. And then when it came to York, not so much, just because we weren't the best. So not a lot of guys, there were a few that wanted to pursue the CFL, but it wasn't, top of mind. But the good thing is we had guys like Andre Dury and Ricky Foley, and it was just great that they continue to be a part of the program. And so they were always instrumental in the guys that they knew had a shot. They were always instrumental in making sure, it's possible. Even though we might not be a Western or a McMaster or a Laurier, work hard. There's always a shot.
Yeah, absolutely. Again, Brandon, it's fun to have you on here and breaking down the past, but let's talk about the present. Looking around the Canadian Football League for you, we were breaking this down, myself and Derek Taylor, on the breakdown last week, and the idea of tiers and where the Hamilton Tiger Cats at this point are slotted in. We think that they're up amongst the elite alongside Winnipeg. Maybe people believe that Edmonton could crawl into that conversation. Toronto, of course, is the splashy thing that everybody wants to talk about right now with all the signings that they've made. But how do you kind of view the Hamilton Tiger Cats and the Argonauts in the grand scheme of the CFL going into what we hope is as full a 2021 season as we can get?
Well, for sure. Well, yeah. Well, first off, I just hope there is a season because I missed it so much, not being able to watch. I don't know. It's definitely cool. The Argos signed some names. A lot of guys that were big back in the day. I'm really excited to see Sean Oakman because you just think of that photo. He's a monster. But again, these are all guys that are just coming in. This year. So you have to mesh. You have to gel. And better than anyone, both you and Kyle, that it's rare when you get the same squad back for another year, and that's what we're going to see with the Hamilton Tiger Cats. Plus, they have the same coaching staff, which I was very, very nervous. I thought that Orlando was going to go to the NFL, just because he's amazing. Not only just a good coach, but just a good guy.
Yeah.
But he's back, and Mazzoli's back, so. I see them being, again, a top tier team, hopefully, repeat and go to the Grey Cup. But I'm not nervous when it comes to the East. I think the Ticats will be, on that top echelon. But it'll be fun to see what the Argos do. But I think it's a lot of razzle dazzle and no substance, in my opinion.
Yeah, I agree with you. You look around the East Division. and all the moves that have been made, not just this offseason, but last offseason too, with those guys on the team. And it's like, I don't think anybody's made a difference to supersede the Hamilton Tiger Cats in terms of hierarchy in the East Division. It's going to be interesting to see what the CFL looks like for you. How long do you think it's going to be before we're watching CFL football and we think, okay, this kind of looks like the old CFL? Because you know this, like players sitting out for a year and a half is not good for the body, right? When you're trying to go back into football, and a training camp just isn't enough time to, get back into the rhythm of things. So for you, how long do you think it's going to be before these guys, get their legs under them?
Well, they're professionals, and so I think once they're back in pads, I equate it to riding a bike, and I don't know, I hate to use myself as an example, and I'm sure you guys know too, when you played, but when the U Sports season is over, it's months before you get back, and you put your pads on, there's a little bit of rust, but as soon as you kind of get that first hit, like you're back, you're good to go. So I don't think it should be a big issue. What really excites me is I saw a tweet. It might have been from Brandon Banks. I can't remember, but I saw all of those guys, and they're all training together. So that right there gets me excited. Like a team like the Ticats are going to be good to go because they already have that cohesive unit and they're already training together. So I think teams like that they're going to be okay. I think it's like the teams like the Argos where they're signing all these different guys where you might see some issues. But I don't know. These guys are getting paid, right? So I'd hope that it shouldn't take too long, and they're not like me. When it came to the pandemic, I think I've gained almost 25 pounds. So I'm hoping that they've been training and doing something.
That picture of Brandon Banks, Braylon Addison, Dane Evans, David Unger, Jalen Acklin, like the number of guys that were there, first and foremost, you think, okay, it'd be great if everybody had their masks on, because I understand Texas is wide open, but let's not get the entire team sick if we can. But at the same time, if you can like kind of separate that, compartmentalize that, and you actually looked at that picture, Brandon, that was the most normal I've felt thinking about the CFL in at least a year, was seeing that picture, because there's all these little things I think we took for granted. And one of them is the build up to the season where you would see the off-season workouts. Seeing that picture to me for about 20 seconds in my mind, I was just figuring out who was in the picture, because I love in the off-season seeing, oh, Bo Levi Mitchell's hosting a throwing session, and look, there's a former NFLer there, or maybe there's one of his friends, or it's a high school offensive coordinator. You start to figure out these connections in the football community. And I saw that with the Ticats, and my mind forgot everything that was happening and just went, oh man, football's just around the corner. Then you realize, we still got a ways to go. But you're right. It felt as normal as anything that's happened in the last year plus. And it was really refreshing. I wonder how many more of those sessions are happening that we just don't know about, because the only reason that any of us are aware of it is because Dane Evans decided to tweet out that picture.
Oh yeah, I'm sure, and I hope. Like I said, they're professionals, and again, like I said, I'll revert it back to when you guys were playing. Like, how much did you love just saying, calling a bunch of guys, calling DeCroce and calling a bunch of guys and saying, hey, let's go throw.
Oh,
you know what I mean? So I'm sure these guys have been itching to play, and I hope they're doing it as often as possible, because there's so much at stake. As the Grey Cup's home. There's a lot at stake. So I'm hoping they're preparing as well as they can to get ready for the season.
Brandon, I want to bring something up that me and Marsh were talking about earlier in the show in terms of Jim Mulling putting in the hard work with Football Canada, and, kind of tying it to the Canadian Football League and them trying to make the Vanier Cup and Grey Cup this cohesive thing that used to be, a part of this, Canadian football landscape that then got kind of separated. And now the Vanier Cup's kind of on its own. For you, how excited are you that that's a possibility again? And, how beneficial is it for U Sports and the CFL as a whole, as Marsh mentioned earlier, to kind of build a system of football?
100%. Oh, I think it's a great idea. One of the best football games I ever watched was McMaster against Laval, and then you had the Grey Cup. Both the Grey Cup and the Vanier were in BC, which is awesome. I think it's cool. And U Sports, I feel like U Sports and the CFL are already a well-oiled machine. What I would like to see is, and this is coming because I got the opportunity to coach, is more of a partnership between, if it has to be the CFL, U Sports, and high school. Because I think we are under the curve right now, And there are so many talented football players that are leaving Canada to go to the States. And I think if we develop that pipeline, that's the pipeline I want to see. Of course, I think it would be great. You know, you have the Grey Cup in Hamilton, the Vanier Cup in Hamilton. I think that makes sense. But I think even taking it one step further, and I've just seen so like it's not good right now when it comes to high school football, and I think it could be so much better. And I would love to see that pipeline.
Yeah, absolutely. That would be the one that I think is the straightest line to development, and being able to tie all these things together with football. Can it get those high schools under the banner so that all of a sudden the proceeds from anything benefiting the CFL and U Sports could trickle down into CJFL, as you say, your time with the Hamilton Hurricanes, and then into high school and all the rest. I'm looking forward to picking your brain on the Kyle Walters era in Guelph. I was not actually super aware of the Kyle Walters era of you in Guelph there. So we'll have to talk about that a different day. But for now, Brandon, we'll let you go. We thank you for checking in. We hope that people are as excited to hear from you throughout our time here on the show as you are to be a part of it. And we thank you for hopping on and having some fun with us, man.
Awesome. Thank you so much for having me. I'm excited to be a part of this